right, so welcome back to your servant, the prophet. I am so happy that the Lord gave me the release to move forward and to start sharing these various things. It's really about legacy. It's about leaving resources and information around for the next generation, for those who are currently growing in the prophetic, who are growing as prophets, little tools and tips to share in regards to the prophetic. One day I'll share my entire testimony of my journey as a prophet and how I developed and how I was able to grow in the prophetic and grow in the things of God in connection to just hearing his voice and being comfortable with sharing prophetic words with others. And so it's a whole journey. I think that it's it's a vitally important topic to discuss because I think that in connection to you receiving and hearing from the Lord. That's one conversation, is that you hear from God, or you hear words about people or sayings or utterances, maybe words of wisdom, words of knowledge. You hear these things about others. The other conversation is surrounded around, okay, you hear it. Now, what are your motives behind that gift, right? What are your motives behind you sharing this information? And so it's vitally important that we have conversations about motives, because it hinges upon everything. If in fact, everything in connection to the delivery and how the message is delivered, when it's delivered, and all of those components, by what's being said, our lives being changed, and all of these things are vitally important in connection to the prophetic word, and they must be measured. I think that we're so mesmerized now by the fact that, oh, I can share like your birth date, or I can share what happened to you last year, or I can give a word of knowledge and be detailed about and descriptive about maybe your plans, or the descriptive about what God desires to do in you in the next season, and all of these things. And we get so just excited, and we get so focused on what is being said, and we're not often questioning the motive behind what is being said. And so that should be equally evaluated, equally investigated in regards to the motive. And so I think that investigation starts with the person with the prophetic word. You have to ask yourself, why am I feel the urge? Why do I feel the urge to share this? Why do I want to display this particular prophetic act, this particular prophetic demonstration, or even the word or word of wisdom, word of knowledge? Why? Right? Some questions that would fall under the question why could be internal. Like, you want to promote yourself. You want to let people know that you're a prophet. You want to let people know that you're important. Like, these are all fleshly stuff, right? You want to make sure that people understand that you have a gift and that God is using you. Right? And all of these things are conversations that are happening in the heart while men are accurate, while men are sharing details and descriptors about men or women's lives. And ultimately, although the word is accurate, God is not glorified because of the motive of the heart, because the heart was geared toward celebration of the flesh, because the heart was geared toward that person being edified and magnified beyond Christ, and their name being glorified, not the name of Christ being glorified. And so the motive actually tainted the word, and the motive actually made the word unpure and unholy, although it was accurate. And so the Lord wants us to be conscious of our motives. And all of us must be purified. I think the heart must go through these multiple processes of purification. As long as we are on this earth, that we must go through these processes of purification, because that's just how it is. We may have interactions and occurrences that affect the heart, that make the heart sick, that make the heart biased, that make the heart change the perception in connection to experience, or what we experienced and how we experienced it. And so all of these things affect the motive. And so we have to consistently be before the face of God, asking the Lord to purify our our motives to, and always checking, daily your heart. It's like a mental check, like you check your room and make sure it's clean and organized. Check that heart and make sure it's organized and clean, and that your hands, that you haven't shed innocent blood, that the Bible talks about who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord. He that has clean hands and a pure heart has not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully. And so we have to also check the heart postures in connection to, have I lifted up my soul into vanity? Have I sworn deceitfully? Have I done these things so that the word can remain pure? The three things that the Lord wanted me to talk about, the reasons why, the motives could be in this situation, right? Or this place could be, the first one could be, is immaturity. And so that person is immature. They're learning about the prophetics. They need someone to train them in the prophetics. They need like a mentor or some books to help them to come into alignment with understanding how they can align their motives and make sure that their motives are in the right place, so that God can ultimately be praised out of what's being said and what's being stated. That's the first one. Second one is unlearned, untrained. Now, the unlearned and untrained is a little bit different from like a novice, or not I wouldn't call it novice, but someone that's just being getting to learn about the prophetics. The unlearned and untrained person could possibly be in two categories. That person could ultimately, one, be a person that refuses to be trained, like you're unlearned and untrained because you desire to be, right? Or you're unlearned and untrained because you don't have resources. And so both of those, I think that the Lord desires to draw you in so that you can have a better understanding on how to properly display and how to properly execute the word of the Lord in the earth, in atmospheres, in churches, all of these personal prophetic words, all of these things. So you can positively display his will and his plan in the earth, the way that he would desire it. And so training is necessary. So getting in communities where you can be trained about the prophetic, and not just how to prophesy, but how to have the correct heart posture concerning the God that you're prophesying for. So that's the second category, are those that need to be trained. And so you can seek it out. You can do your best to put yourself in communities where you can be trained, find a church home that will help you to be trained, and all of those things. And the third one is, and this is the one that we want to be in very cautious about, is the person who refuses, right? Right? It's not a point where you don't have access to training. You have access to training. You're not a newbie. Like you knew you were a prophet 10 years ago, and the Lord has already, talked to you about like some things in connection to your heart, and you refuse to, like the refusal of submitting those hearts and that heart posture to the will of the Father, and allowing that heart posture to be checked, not just by God, but other community leaders, other people of the faith within this, where you're not always getting like good prophetic words. You're probably getting words that will challenge you, words that will cause you to grow. And in those communities and within those places, you're going to find safety. But these people refuse that. They refuse community. They refuse anyone that will speak into their lives and give them prophecies or encouragement or teaching or leading them into like a better way of examining their heart posture, and even their posture amongst their peers and other prophets or prophetic people. Those are the ones that we want to put a caution around. And those are the ones that I pray that if you're listening to this, that this is your word of warning, that you need to pause now. You need to stop now. There is an entire people that the Lord, that he spoke of in the Bible, where he says, you were doing this in my name, that in my name. But guess what? I don't even know who you are. Thank you so much for saving 1 million souls, but I don't even know you. And you do not want that to play out specifically in your life individually, or to have that scenario take place in your life, and it could for a lot of people if they do not and are not intentional about checking the heart posture and checking, whether, God is pleased with them as a son, as a daughter, not just as a prophet, but as a son, as a daughter. Is that heart pure? Is that heart sanctified? Is that heart submitted? Is that heart faithful? Is that heart willing to forgive? Is that heart full of love? And that's the thing. The Bible says that we, within prophecy, it comes from the spirit of love. And so even correction comes from the spirit of love. And so that is what we wanted to talk about today, about the motive of the heart and making sure that we're intentional about the things that we allow to come out of this heart, the things that we allow to protrude out of the heart, and just making sure that God is pleased with those things. And so I just pray for you that the Lord would give you the grace to identify the secrecies in your heart, to identify even places where the heart has become sickened, the heart has become hardened, the heart has become callous, or in some way deflective to the will and the plan of God for your life, and that you walk through a season of heart examination, a season of evaluation of the heart, equally so as you grow in your prophetic grace and you grow as a prophet, that your heart also grows in multiple levels of love and faith concerning the Father. So I bless you guys, and I hope you have an amazing day.